Okay, hello everybody. My name is Sam Fender. I'm doing my project on Augusta Savage, and just for the record, I could not get Screencast-O-Matic to work. I tried very hard, I could not get it to work. So anyways, let's jump in. This is Augusta and why she is so savage. Okay, so she was born in Green Cove Springs, Florida, in 1892. And if we think about that for a second, just so you know, Green Cove Springs, Florida is located just south of Jacksonville, so it's up north. And it's on the bank of the St. Johns River. So what this means is if you were a young kid in the late 1800s on the bank of the St. Johns River, you were probably playing with a lot of clay. And what were you doing with clay? You were probably sculpting. So you're sculpting animals, sculpting whatever you want, really. I mean, that's, that's the whole point, is there's no instructions to it. So that's what Augusta was doing from a very young age. She was sculpting these little tiny farm animals out of river clay. And I included the second line in here because I thought it was pretty nice. Whenever she would sculpt these animals and bring them inside, she'd track clay in the house, and so she'd get whooped for that. But this motivated her, kept her doing what she was doing. So let's jump ahead a few years to Fontainebleau, France in 1923. She was nominated for this summer program, which was basically a tuition-free art school in Fontainebleau. And, well, when I say she was nominated, but she was also rejected. The reason she was nominated is because she was a good artist. The reason she was rejected was because there were other white women artists that were also nominated that said, if this Augusta Savage is going, I'm not going because I don't want to share a boat with her, and I'm certainly not going to live with her. So this left the organization of Fontainebleau with a very tough decision, and they chose to side with the white women. All of which in an effort to motivate Augusta Savage. And so what do you do when you've been rejected by a big white organization? Well, you probably moved to New York City. Now, when you go to New York City and you're a black artist, you probably want it to be during the 1920s. If I was a black artist, I would want to be a black artist in the 1920s in New York City. Because that was during the Harlem Renaissance, and that was a very, very amazing time in history. And so Augusta Savage was writing African-American papers in journals to help fuel the fire that was the Harlem Renaissance. And so if we think of Langston Hughes, one of the cornerstones of the Harlem Renaissance, if we think of him in the center, then we can think of somebody like Augusta Savage on the sidelines helping fuel that fire. And so that's how we should perceive it. And then clearly was a big equal opportunity advocate. And this leads me into my last point, which is this is her most famous project. It's called Gamin, G-A-M-I-N, and it's French for street urchin. Now, a street urchin is an orphan, and by the looks of this particular street urchin, it looks to be a young black boy. And my favorite part about this whole piece is his expression, because his expression has this look of awe, and it expresses this feeling of surprise, which is pretty cool because you see his raised eyebrow and you see his wrinkled shirt, so he's not very, his wrinkled shirt and his hat being crooked is kind of a tell that this kid is not very well off. He's probably got a very tough life, but he's still capable of feeling this emotion of awe and feeling this emotion of surprise, which is the coolest thing ever because that's something that all of us as humans can relate to. And I think that's pretty cool, and I think that's what Augusta Savage stands for, and yeah, I think it speaks to the human spirit, and I think it speaks to the artistic notion. So this is my works cited page. I hope you can make out all the letters and numbers there. If you wish to verify that, you certainly have the opportunity to. Thank you all for listening. I hope you all have a good rest of your year. Stay safe out there.